Jesse and I caused a little bit of an uproar yesterday on X, formerly known as Twitter, where people go
Yeah.
to be upset and engage in uproars. So it wasn't really an uproar anywhere else, but in the Twitterverse, this was a big deal. So I
Oh,
want to take you
huge.
through it. Like I'm standing watching practice, and I feel my phone vibrate. I get a text. It's Jesse, and it's what you say.
So I had watched a couple clips, and to me, CMC looked a step slow. And so I just text you. I didn't want to like throw it out in Twitter's sphere first. I text you. I said, "Hey, you're at practice. Does CMC look a little slow to you?" And your response was,
I thought you were over my shoulder. I'm like, how does he know? Are you here? Because I was just standing there, and they had just tossed the ball to McCaffrey in an 11-on-11 drill with no helmets. I mean, and I was just curious to see he's going to break into the open field because there's no tackling and there's no contact. What does it look like when he really opens his stride? And it looked like it didn't look like, look, as someone who ran track in high school for 2 months, it didn't look like a guy who was easily breaking into his full stride and cruising. It looked like a guy who was straining to accelerate and get there. And it looked, and I've watched Christian McCaffrey before in 2023, effortless, super fast. Is he still fast and explosive? Yeah, compared to me
"Yes."
and other NFL players for sure, but not compared to what he was 2 years ago in my, you know, to my untrained eye. That's what I saw. And I think that's what you saw too.
Yeah, it's funny because, saying that somebody's lost a step, ultimately, the thought is, "Oh, so you think he's gonna suck?" No, nobody said that.
No.
I just here's the thought exercise. Let's remove CMC from the conversation, Grant. I'm gonna give you a random player, doesn't matter his name. He's a running back in the NFL, and at 27 years old, he was the offensive player of the year. He had over 2,000 total yards, 21 touchdowns, 5.4 yards per carry. Then at 28 years old, the very next season, he had multiple injuries to his legs. The things that make you run and be a running back. And then he's coming back at 29 years old when a lot of running backs fall off a cliff. And I am now saying, hey, he's going to be as good as he was in 2023, or this player has lost a step and could still contribute, but is not going to be near the player he was in 2023. You have to bet everything you own on it. Which side of the house would you go with? Just logically thinking, knowing how the NFL works.
Well, and how, time works. I mean, I don't think you ever bounce back fully to what you were when you were 27. I mean, 29
Yeah.
isn't that much older, but you bilateral Achilles tendonitis and you're 2 years older, you never get it all back. The question is, how much did you lose? That's the question, in my opinion.
Yeah.
To say like I watched practice and I saw him run, and I feel very confident that he's back to the guy he was when he was 27. Well, I feel very confident that you're wrong. That's how I feel. The question is just how much deterioration has he experienced? And I mean, there were statistics from 2024. The number was 17.4 miles per hour. That's kind of shocking because look, if you go on a treadmill and crank it up to 17.4 miles an hour, you're probably going to fall off. That's very fast. But for
Mhm.
McCaffrey, it's like 3 to 4 miles per hour slower than what he used to be. That's a big deal.
Yeah, it is. It's massive. It's massive. And the way that I see it is, even if let's assume that we're right here and he's lost a step, how can he still contribute? I think the biggest way would be through the passing game.
Yep.
He's still got great hands. He's still a good route runner. He's still going to be somebody that Brock Purdy trusts. I would say if you're going to compare what he did in 2023, I think he can duplicate what he did in the past game, maybe minus the touchdowns, but overall, as far as catches and yards, I could see him duplicating that again. It's the 5.4 yards per carry and whatever 1,500 rushing yards that he had. I don't see that. I don't see that he's going to come back and be the clear best running back in the league. I'm sorry. Maybe that makes me a pessimist, whatever, but that's the way that I would see it anyways. And then watching him yesterday, I'm like, he doesn't look the same. And you can say, well, they don't go as fast in OTAs. They don't get okay. When was the last time that CMC didn't go as hardest in anything that he does?
Correct.
Isn't that exactly
And
what the
again, the way
coaches
I saw it, and I was
continuously
standing
say?
there, it didn't look like he was pacing himself and cruising in fourth gear. It looked like he was straining to get to a gear he didn't have anymore. But that's again just my non-expert opinion. Straining.
Yeah, we'll see. Listen, I don't want to be right about this. If I'm wrong about anything, I hope that it's this, because the 49ers need 2023 CMC if they want any chance at being something serious this year. I just don't think that it's likely. I don't think it was likely before yesterday. And I certainly don't think that it's likely now. I also am not saying that he's shot and he's not going to be productive at all. I just temper your expectations. Just because somebody is healthy, it doesn't mean they're the same player that they were 2 years ago. This happens all the time in the NFL with every player across the league, where you have the same name players. Sometimes those players the next year are better than the name that they were last year, and sometimes they're worse. If I look at Nick Bosa, for example, yeah, you can say, hey, the 2019 49ers had Nick Bosa, but I can assure you that the 2022 version of Nick Bosa was a hell of a lot better. Same name, same player, but a big difference in the production. And when I look at CMC, I've got to imagine that 27-year-old offensive player of the year, that player is going to decline as a 29-year-old, even if the name's the same and even if he's on the field.
Prize Picks will give you $50 when you play your first $5 lineup. Win or lose, you'll get $50 for playing. Use promo code COHN, COHN, and download the app now. I think it's helpful for fans maybe to educate themselves by going back and looking at other running backs' careers, maybe similar running backs. To me, McCaffrey always reminded me of Marshall Faulk, who was, he won Offensive Player of the Year 3 years in a row when we were kids, from 2000 to from 99 to 2001 on the Rams. He averaged 5.5 yards per carry, 5.4 yards per carry, 5.3 yards per carry. He was super explosive as a running back, and he would catch 80 passes a season. He was incredible. He would go for more than 2,000 yards from scrimmage every year. He didn't have the injury issues that Christian McCaffrey had. So at 28, he wins Offensive Player of the Year for the third year in a row. Didn't have bilateral Achilles tendonitis for all I know. Then he comes back in 2002, 29 years old, and averages 4.5 yards per carry. Not a bad year, but like not Marshall Faulk anymore. Still catches 80 passes, but only averages 6.7 yards per reception instead of 9 or 10, which he was doing in his prime routinely. So McCaffrey might play 13, 14, 15 games this year. He might go for 1,000 yards as a runner, but I just don't think it's ever going to look like it did 2-3 years ago. And I don't think that's that out. That's what happens to human beings as they get older.
Well, I think LT is another great example of this. LT led the league at 27 and 28 years old in rushing. He had 5.2 yards per carry at 27, 4.7 at 28, and then at 29 years old, it dropped all the way down to 3.8. Now he's still got 1,100 yards rushing, but it looked very different. And this is normal. What Derrick Henry is doing is not normal. And the reason, even Derrick Henry, his career was starting to go like this, and then he got with Lamar Jackson, the most dynamic player in the NFL, and all of a sudden it shot back up. It's like, well, Derrick Henry was still a good player, but you add him next to the most dynamic player in the NFL, and your career can get a resurgence. That's not happening with Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey is going to be on the same team with the same quarterback that he was before, and everybody keys in on him, and so much so that when he came back last year against the Bucs, you think that's a coincidence that was probably Brock Purdy's best game? I don't, because I'm looking at it saying, well, the Bucs defense didn't know what to expect from CMC. All they knew was he was back off of a bye week. Brock Purdy tore it up. And then once the league figured out, the CMC's not the same guy, it went back to the way that it was. So I don't know. I think early on he can be a major impact, but if teams realize that he's not the same CMC and they don't have to dedicate as much to him, this offense can close down real quick.
I just wonder how well he's going to age. One, he's got the tendonitis issue that could pop up, but like his game is so like Marshall Faulk's, like so built on explosiveness. And once that goes and he's just like as explosive as any running back, then it's like, well, you're a little slow. You're a little small and you're not really powerful and you're not going to break tackles. Like Frank Gore, I think a lot of Niner fans and analysts and writers are used to him and remember how he aged. People kind of counted him out at 28, 29 because of his past, and running backs history in general. And he just kept playing and kept producing at the same rate forever, even though he was slowing down. It didn't matter because his game wasn't built on speed ever. It was built on vision and toughness and power and other things. And I don't think that's going to be Christian McCaffrey, but we'll see.
Well, and I think the other thing that you have to factor in is, unlike a lot of college running backs who are part of a dual system, he had like 800 carries in college or something like that. It was insane. So, a lot of mileage on Christian McCaffrey, a lot of mileage. So, again, do I think he can be a productive player? Yes, especially in the pass game. Do I expect at all that he'll be anything close to what he was as the offensive player of the year? No, I don't.